Pete with Tiberius Arms, Gorilla Air. Today we're going to go over putting the 8.1 air constant air adapter onto your pistol. First thing you need is your pistol, obviously. The air adapter kit, it has several pieces here. We're going to go through them real quick, make sure you got everything you need. Set all this packaging aside. What we're looking at here is the air block itself. It's going to go on the back of the gun. We need a solid stem and its O-ring. There's this little back cap, much like the one that's already on your gun. And then here there's a little O-ring screw bag, and we'll get to what exactly all of those are here in just a second. The tools you're also going to need. You're going to need a 3/32 Allen wrench. You're going to need a 3/16 Allen wrench. You're going to need a 1/16 Allen wrench. And you're going to need a small adjustable wrench or a 4mm if you have it for the stem. A small adjustable will work fine. Two other Allen wrenches, a 7/64 and a 1/8. That'll be all the tools you'll need to do this whole project. Shove this stuff aside. I'm going to take my pistol. First thing I'm going to do is drop the magazine, set it aside. I don't need it for this process. Same with the barrel. To remove the barrel, we're going to push in, rotate away from yourself. It'll slide right out. Set it aside. There's a spring to follow. Just going to give it a little shake. Set it aside. And from there, we take our 3/32 Allen wrench, and you want to press this pin out above the trigger. It'll come out either side. Just give it a little press, get it started. Just give it a little tap. Some of them can be pretty sticky. Doesn't really matter, it will come out. Set it aside. There's 3 screws that hold the handle on. One in the front, one in the middle, one in the rear. They're all 3/32. They're all 3 the same size. But the one in the front has this little washer on it. And it's imperative that that washer end up back in the front, otherwise you'll scrape up your barrel. Very important. Remove all 3 screws. This bushing sits basically above the trigger there. As you take that screw out, some of them will stay in the handle, some of them will pop out. It's no big deal either way. And where it was sitting, there's going to be a spring. So when first thing I do to pull this open, there's going to be a little spring that's going to fall out right there. Set it with that bushing so you don't lose it. And then from there, we can take the gun off of the handle. And to do that, we're going to split them. There's a little arm in here. It's kind of hard to see. I'm going to catch that with my finger because I don't want it to stretch there because of this spring. If you pull up too much, it'll stretch that spring. And now we're there. So now we want to set this handle aside. We're also going to take our 3/32 and remove this screw next to the stem that's already in it. It also has a washer on it. It is a longer screw than the other 3 and has a silver lock washer on it. Again, keep that one separate from the other ones. It's very important that that screw get back in that place. Underneath this regulator, you're going to find 2 places for O-rings. You have a 006 seal here and what we call our solid seal here that keeps air from getting down the pathway that we now want to use. I'm going to take a little pick, flathead screwdriver, something to pop that loose. We're going to take that solid seal out. I recommend keeping it in case you ever change your mind, decide you want to go back to using your magazine air. And in the kit with the little couple O-rings and screws, there's going to be a black one right here. It looks just like the one that's already in your regulator. What we're going to do is we're just going to push that down into that little counter bore. Use your fingernail a little bit, make sure it stays. Now we're ready to flow air through it. You can't block the other one, it will not work. But again, I recommend keeping that solid seal. Once we have that done, we're going to take this stem off. Again, I have a 4mm wrench. I don't expect most people to. A small adjustable will work fine. We're just going to break that loose. Remove it. Shouldn't be in there too tight. And again, when tightening it, you do have to put the O-ring on it. Not a big deal, just slip it right over those threads. When tightening this solid one back on, you don't want to over tighten it. If you break on those little fine threads, if it breaks, major problem. So I'm just going to go to finger tight, little tweak, make sure the O-ring got it squashed. That's all I need to do there. We're good to go. Anytime you take this trigger regulator assembly off of the main gun body, you have to take your Allen wrench and push this bolt forward before you can reinstall it, otherwise the gun will not fire. Most of the time when you take it off, it's going to look like that. You have to have the barrel out, you have to push it forward, and then we can set this regulator back on. The little locating pins will make it lock in place. The longer screw with the silver lock washer is going to go in its place. I'm going to screw that down fairly snug. From there, we're going to put the gun back into the handle. It can be tricky to put the gun into the handle. I have another video on our channel that goes more into detail on how to get this done. If you should have any problems, you just want to feed the trigger in, let the regulator fall. And then from there, the first thing I do is put the pin back in. Doesn't really matter what order these go in. I go from there, I lift it up, I put the safety spring back in its place, I drop my 3 screws. Again, if you have any issues with the handle, I know it can be tricky. There's another video on our channel that describes that in more detail. Okay, now that my regulator is set up to run air through the back, we have to set up the back itself.